as a special request, I'm going to do the next layer of testing for the just changed Friday night torpedo speeds again at a different location. So I thought of, I believe this is urethane. I always mispronounce this dang. There we go. Uterp. Well, I'll just go with that. It's the furthest out of the new Babbage moons. But I figured this will be kind of a scenic backdrop and also a slightly more responsible way to use torpedoes so we don't send them off to nowhere's land if they didn't adjust the fuel intake to infinite or something crazy. If they did, change it to infinite or something. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, you got the Argos is primed up. Hang on. Let's prop the ship up so we can see. There it is. Okay. Let's take a look at the speed changes. They're supposed to be faster now. They're supposed to be faster now. They're supposed to be adjusted for the boost speed of a ship. So they are faster. Okay. For a second there, in gun mode, I was catching up. I was like, this isn't good. Okay. So, as you can see, I am traveling at 362 meters a second with full boost expended, starting from 0 to be fair. But that thing is slightly more booking it towards the moon with the name I have trouble pronouncing. Now, they did adjust it. It is significantly faster. It is faster than a Tali at least now. But there are ships that would be able to outrun that thing. And will this one be able to? You see, if I wait for that boost to recharge fully, can I switch over to a different SCM mode like Quantum and then just run as fast as I can? Now, if CIG did not change it, so like when the cooldown of the reload, does that block you from changing SCM modes? We'll find out real quick. So let's see if round 2, I spin the whole ship. There it is. Let's take a look at what this thing can do. And I'm going to run it from here, just so I'm about to fire it, and then I'll be trying to change immediately. It's still outrunning me! Okay. And that's in SCM mode. Oh, I didn't have the scroll wheel all the way up. Oh, Jesus. Jeez. Alright, let's try another one. And go ahead and run it over here. Let's send it over there. I'm only slightly more responsible. And we have 4 more to fire. So I am going to attempt to swap this out, fire the missile, swap it out as quickly as I can, remember to scroll wheel, and see if I can outsprint it with a full thruster. There we go. Okay, so my boost is full. And I'll start moving beforehand as well. That makes a lot of sense. So let's fire it. I'm swapping immediately. Let me... Okay. I am moving as fast as I possibly can, but there was a... Oh boy. Yeah, you can outrun them in SCM as long as you're in boost. In a Tali. Oopsie. Okay, so... this is just kind of fun. It's not full-on testing. I know some folks are looking for, like, methodical, it's this many meters a second slower, but at the end of the day, when it comes to these type of torps, they are too expensive to be playing calculator games with. They just work or they don't. And this Tali would have been able to run away from that torpedo fired from another ship. That's a problem. So 1,000 meters a second, they certainly are not. And, I mean, I have a massive gain on that machine. Even with that big old torpedo on it. So what I'll do is I will swap back to guns, go slower again. then swap to missile mode. Wait for my third one to cycle up. Should be, I think, the last of the centrally located ones that they... Oh, it went to the back this time. Okay. Or the front. It's got one of each loaded at the moment. Sure, why not? Okay, so I'm testing this again. I'm picturing that I am kind of acting as both ships right now. So I'm the firing ship, and I'm right in front, I'm right behind an enemy ship that's trying to get away from me. So if I drop this Torp, and then I swap over and pretend to be the runaway ship. Kick on boost, and it actually stalled there a minute. If the SCM acts up, you might be messed up by it, especially if it's super close. But there is an activation range on these torpedoes, so there is a minimum following distance of a few kilometers, and a maximum distance. So, and I'll be sure to look that up and put it right on the screen right now. But this isn't so cut and dry right now. So I have no idea why this is so glitchy. So sometimes when it goes into nav mode from nav SCM guns to nav quantum, it tends to do this weird thing where it kicks me back to 0, and it's really messing up my testing. That if that's intentional, then great, but it's not always that way. So if I'm moving at 200 meters a second, I go to SCM missile mode. Wait for the second of my last two to load, and then I go ahead and wait for my boost to go to 100%. I'm going to fire. I just changed to quantum nav mode. I'm going as fast as I possibly can. I am not going into third party mode because I do not want this to accidentally screw up. Now I just scroll wheeled up now that I'm in full quantum mode. And do you see that little warning flashing triangle at the bottom? That means the torpedo's behind me, chasing me. It's not in front of me. It's behind me. Way behind me. They still got some work to do on these. So I do feel obligated to point out that that Nico from CIG pointed out that there is a reason that PTU is PTU, of course. That's what the bottom of my screen, it notes as a test version. That's an early development build. And I'm grateful for the work that CIG developers do. But as they pointed out, this is a test bed. This is not what we're going to see in live, but this is developments towards live. And it seems like CIG has directly posted out messaging that their teams are thinking that torpedoes are meant to be more classical in design. And by classical, they don't mean like, you know, a Mark 48 torpedo or something like that of a modern day. They mean like an old school lumbering torpedo that's thrown in some cases a spread that take a while to get to their target, that have long legs, and they're meant to kind of, as some commentators put it, finish off a target or knock out an unsuspecting target, etc. And it seems like that is confirmed over and over again based on what we're seeing. I'm going to throw this last Argos out. I'm going to show you that it can outrun so if the vehicle stays in combat mode, it will certainly outrun it. I'm going to show you that. Give it its full from the 200 point. And there it is in front of me. Sorry, I dropped off the thruster for just a moment there, and it got ahead of me a little bit. But it was ahead. It was already ahead. It's just not that fast. As I pitch down and lose a little bit of speed and I lose my boost, you can see that it starts catching ahead. So it will start playing catch up with the enemy. Tactics, if the speed of the torpedoes stay this slow, first of all, I'm going to state the obvious, using distortion guns and when they work correctly, and kind of disabling your targets that you're fighting, targeting ships that have already had a few thrusters knocked offline or busted or distracted is a good idea. Using devices like EMPs, if the power plant is small enough to be able to knock them offline for even just a second or two. That way these things can really wallop the enemy ship. As we get bigger ships that have such systems, it will be interesting. As I continue to chase this thing, you can see the amount of time that the fuel of this thing has. The defined range that these things have is not just about lockup, but it's also about the amount of fuel on board. So this may be a sign of the what the vision of these things are. As you see, it just burned out. It just burned out now. So it's not that significant, the distance that it can go. They do have a hard limit on the capabilities of the ship. So the delivery system has its own rules, and then the ship itself has its own rules. Sorry, the weapon system itself has its own rules. And in general, being able to resupply size 9 Torps, it's not cheap, and it can't be done everywhere. So I think that that's something to point out, that we're kind of in a weird state if this is where they go. The Eclipse in particular will suffer the most due to its fact that it only has 3 Torps on board. They are extremely slow-moving Torps even now, and the fixes may have helped a little bit, but as you've seen, when you go into boost and you are willing to switch over to the SCM mode, this ship can outrun its size 9 torpedo. This ship. So there are many ships that are faster than a Tali, or at least the same speed, if not a little slower than a Tali, and they will all outrun those Torps. And part of that is, I think CIG wants it to be that way. That certain ships are susceptible to these things and other ships are not. Haulers are now susceptible, as they should be. Tallies can't take down Tallies if they're playing their cards right. And I also want to point out something else. The only reason I was able to outrun it is switching over to this quantum mode, where I lose all my shields. I had shields up over here before I had to switch the comms. So, I mean, literally, with the new Master Mode system, if you haven't been playing in this patch cycle, you have to switch over to the gun mode that's a lot slower in order to get your shields back. And even then, it'll start recharging the shields. It takes a moment for it to lag. So if I switched over to an SCM mode to run away from a torpedo or torpedoes or whatnot, then other ships and their secondary weapons of the ship that fire the torpedoes could then light into this ship and really tear it apart. Especially ships that are less armored and less resilient than a Hammerhead, or in the case of right now, before Maelstrom armor tech is in, just the raw hit points of the ship will suffer even more so. So ships that enjoy having a decent shield and can brawl a little bit, but they don't have military armor redundancy and such, they're going to suffer the most with this type of technology if it stays this way. When it comes to the actual victim, the actual folks that are getting hit with these Torps. It also brings up an interesting point of target selection. Before, size 9s were always hit and miss. If you did hit, you hit. And sometimes you literally knock out a ship with one of them. If you don't hit, though, it's a big, big mistake. It costs a lot of money to replace these Torps. And unfortunately, it's just something that you're going to have to face the facts of. That, you know, the game is only going to give you so many different kinds of targets. And it also makes the hauler class, the armored hauler concept that I came up with for the Retaliator weaker, because certain targets will be able to outrun your Torps, and then when you're out of the 4 Torps, they can just kill you anyway. Or, hopefully, they're busy outrunning them, you can get off grid, if there's not more than one of them. And that brings me to my last thought, is that a single ship that you're fighting is rare in this game. Especially as orcs get even slightly bigger, you're going to face the facts that this ship will be coming up against 2 or even 3 enemy ships, whether they're small or not. In fact, if they're small, that's even more problematic for what you're using. So, I don't know. I guess that's a balancing pass. You know, they just made the guns on the turret size 3 on this thing, and then they nerfed the hell out of the torpedoes. Like, everybody was like, oh, okay, now it's starting to look like something. I don't know if I can get enough people for all of these turrets, but hey, you know, the people I can get, this is interesting, this is going to work, and then all of a sudden, they nerf-batted the hell out of the torpedoes. They still have. Make no mistake. No matter what they're saying, these are really, really, really slow torpedoes, and I think they're going to be fine-tuned, and CIG has signaled that they will not go back to the speed they were previously. They will continue to tune them, but they will not return to the previous state completely of like where they were. You know, that, to be fair, that could be only a slight speed drop or a giant speed drop like we've already seen. And this was an improvement in this specific build for the weekend. As of Friday night, these are not the end of the world, but it's not what a lot of people wanted. You know, you just sold many torpedo and missile boats, and then now you're all of a sudden you're signaling that torpedoes and missiles need to get nerf batted. So yeah, I'm interested to see where this PTU goes. Don't go, you know, it's not the end of the world. Like I said on my last video, I'm not panicking for the Tali. I just think it's just changing the landscape for the Tali quite a lot. I'm thankful it has its modules, so at least it can fall back on hauling and eventually drop ships and everything else. Because honestly, and eventually even VIP stuff and such, I think that's what the crew things are going to be able to do. But whatever that is, all of those things kind of give it hope that, like, hey, it's not a dead end. Especially for folks that are looking for this to be their one larger ship. You never want to hear that. You never want to see that happen to somebody. And, yeah. The torpedoes were a true one-trick pony for this ship, and boy, were they something special. And they still are. But at the end of the day, I think it's interesting. I just find it interesting that that's the way this all went. I'm not quite sure if this was necessary. And I mean, there's other ways they could have balanced this. Remove some of the boost on people and such. Because remember, you're tweaking an entire weapon class. It's not just the Retaliator. So one of the things I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to get back into the hangar while I'm still on this video, so I can show you if you can even rebuy the Torps and what their current price is. It's kind of varied patch cycle to patch cycle, whether it had that capability or you had to go buy them on your own, and then where you saw the spindle issues during ILW, if you watched my previous videos on this ship. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So let's take a look at landing services. Resock claims it's 21K. That's a really good price if that's the case. Let's just let it run and let's see what happens. That's looking promising to me. Hopefully I don't have a pile of torpedoes sitting on the floor for 21K. Could also be that they've lowered the price for the test server. At one point they were chucking around ideas of like 100K, 90K per torp for that size. Nope, they're back. 21K for... Let me double check the back before I go saying something nice. At least on the test server for 3.23.1a for this weekend, a full torp load of 6 torps. It was only 21K. That's pretty slick. Alright, that's going to do it for this one. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you to my long-time subscribers. By the way, I'm considering starting a membership for the channel. It is completely optional. There is not going to be any mainline content like this or my lore videos that's going to be locked behind that. More of just stuff that didn't make it just for fun. I'll have some of those videos available. Things that I pulled for very wise decisions. They didn't make it through QC, or they took too much time for me to finish the polish on and things like that. So it'd be fun for you kind of, if you sign up to see behind the scenes. Kicking around the idea of 2 USD a month. So the idea is like you buy me a coffee. Hey, this is editing me, just cutting in just for a moment. As I was editing this, I stepped away for a moment, came back with a, with a coffee, and my headset broke. So just to give you some concept, I'm either going to have to repair it or then have to buy a new one. So gear costs do add up. I'm not just talking about, hey, it'd be great if you buy me a coffee. I mean it more like I actually do use the money for the content. So if you have it, great. If you want to contribute to help the channel, great. If not, no big deal. Thank you for being a subscriber. And people can come and go if they're interested. Once again, it is not any of my mainline content. Nothing will be locked behind that or anything like that. I know how that feels, and I'm not trying to become yet another place that you have to pay to literally see the best content that you're actually coming here for. And yeah, for real, that's it for me for tonight. I wish you all a happy Friday night. Hope you have a great weekend. I'm hoping to have at least one more video done this weekend covering Star Citizen. And yeah, it's looking okay. 3.23.2 per rumors is going to be in Evo next week, and hopefully in the waves very soon after that. It was supposed to be this week. It's got pushed back to next week. Hopefully that will be that. And yeah, exciting times. Take care.
Come fly away, I'll take you on a star.